Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Teena Jha, you're watching Perspective. The World Sustainable Development Summit, organized by the Energy and Resources Institute, convened in New Delhi from 25th to 27th of February. This year marked the 25th edition of the summit and was held under the theme Parivartan, Transformations, Vision, Voices and Values for Sustainable Development. Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Deependra Yadav, inaugurated the Silver Jubilee edition of the summit. He said over the last 25 years, the WSDS has grown into a unique forum from the Global South that brings together governments, industry, academia, civil society and communities to translate the science of sustainability into policy, partnerships and practical action.
The umbrella theme of this summit, Transformations, Vision, Voices and Values for Sustainable Development, is a strategic necessity. Friends, the first global stocktake under the Paris Agreement has made one reality unmistakably clear. Globally, we are not on the trajectory required to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade. Emissions reduction remain insufficient. Adaptation finance remains inadequate. SDG implementation is uneven. This is not a crisis of science. It is a crisis of scale, speed, and systematic alignment. Transformation, therefore, must move beyond incremental policy refinement. It must alter the architecture of energy systems, economic models, consumption patterns, and global governance framework. And this is precisely what Parivartan demands. In English, transformation implies structural change. In Indian thought, Parivartan carries deeper meaning. It signifies evolution of consciousness. For India, sustainability is not a modern negotiation agenda. It is a civilizational ethic. Therefore, we speak of transformation, we do not speak of abandoning development. We speak of redefining development within ecological limits with social justice and intergenerational equity.
The inaugural session also featured Dr. Bharat Jagdev, Vice President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, who stressed that global progress cannot be allowed to stall. Developing nations must forge a path towards climate targets that remain effective and equitable, even in the absence of traditional multilateral participation.
Many of us here are operating today in a different context. I've heard whispers in the corridors, but often we're reluctant to confront the biggest issue that is affecting us right now. And that is the need to raise ambition to achieve the climate goals that we have set ourselves, and with the absence of the United States of America at the table. And at this time when we have to raise ambition, it would be very, very difficult for us to achieve the climate goals without the US participation. It would have implications for carbon pricing regimes, which are crucial for the development of the climate sector. It would have implications for multilateral regimes that are crucial for sustainability.
The Director General of TERI, Dr. Vibha Dhawan, shared a message from Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
My sincere thanks on behalf of TERI to the Honorable Prime Minister and his office for sharing this message, which I'll now read. It's heartening to learn about the Silver Jubilee edition of the World Sustainable Development Summit, WSDS 2026. The theme of this year's summit, Parivartan, Transformations, Vision, Voices and Values for Sustainable Development, is in tune with the fast-paced changing needs of our times. In India, nature has always been our first teacher. Our sculptures and traditions remind us, it's a Sanskrit shaloka, Pibanti Nadya Swe Mev Nabhya Swe na khadinti falani vriksha nadati sansya khulu varivaha paropkarya sata vibhutai, which means rivers do not drink their own water, trees do not eat their own fruits, clouds do not consume the harvest that they helped grow, the wealth of the noble existence for the service of others. Nature gives, it does not take. Today, that is the ethic humanity must reclaim. We have always revered the earth as our mother. Protecting her is not just a policy choice, but our duty. Today, that duty demands decisive climate action to restore a long disturbed balance. For more than a decade now, India has acted with purpose, expanding solar capacity more than 40-fold, accelerating wind, green hydrogen, energy efficiency, clean mobility, and achieving 40% of installed electricity capacity from non-fossil sources in 2021, 9 years ahead of our Paris commitment. For India, sustainability is not new. It is an ancient philosophy that aligns growth with ecological balance. With today's technology and resources, the task is to direct innovation and investment towards the world's most urgent priorities. Our approach is guided by Antyodaya, the rise of every and the most disempowered. Climate action must first protect the vulnerable, the poor, and the disadvantaged. The global south bears a disproportionate burden of climate change, yet for them, development is imperative. Climate justice, therefore, is essential. Developing nations must eradicate poverty and hunger while safeguarding the planet. This requires technology transfer, financing options, and partnerships. Developed countries bear a special responsibility to move faster, live sustainability, and deliver finance and technology at scale. Let this conference strengthen, resolve, deepen cooperation, and secure a sustainable future for our planet. And I extend my best wishes for productive and forward-looking deliberations at the Silver Jubilee edition of WSDS. Narendra Modi.
At the WSDS 2026, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change created a dedicated platform called Him Connect to connect the researchers working in the Himalayan region with the startups, industry leaders, investors and the policymakers. The Environment Minister informed that the structured platform was created to translate research supported under the Ministry's National Mission on Himalayan Studies into solutions that can then be implemented at scale. The three-day summit brought together policymakers, industry leaders and climate advocates with a view to advance the global conversation on sustainability by spotlighting nature-positive development, green industrial transformation, future technologies and renewed multilateral cooperation.
The climate and nature crises are interconnected and they must be solved together. Nature has created a livable climate for humans on Earth. But we have never affected nature as much as we do now, and climate change is increasing the burden. At the UN Environmental Assembly in 2021, we agreed that nature-based solutions must benefit both human well-being and biodiversity at the same time. When we see it all as part of one system, we can maximize the positive effects for both people and climate and nature, and avoid negative side effects. For Norway, that means that we are committed to the following. First, actively promote the full potential of nature-based solution. Second, upscale nature-based solution as viable alternatives to technological solutions. And third, ensure social and environmental safeguards. People and communities must participate in the development of nature-based solutions.
I think it's very important to kind of look at the issues that are at hand. It was in the year 2004 when tsunami hit Tamil Nadu. Thousands of people died. And after that, a massive program for restoration was rolled out, which also involved a huge amount of, the financial expenditure that had to be made. Several decades after that, what is it that we are doing? What lessons did we learn from such a mammoth disaster like that? I'm going to talk to you about that. Everywhere, I think the speakers here, they highlighted so many challenges that we are facing today. Everywhere, every village you go to, people would tell you the kind of practical difficulties they are facing today. In one of the villages, mangrove villages in Pichavaram, in Tamil Nadu, 2.5 years back, a couple who were fishing when we were actually going on a boat in the mangrove area on an inspection. And they shared with me, just about 10 years back, they used to come for fishing in the morning. 2 hours, they will get the catch of the day. And all the catch they had to, and they would go back and do rest of the work in the village. Today, when they are in the creek the whole day, still they are not getting adequate catch they have. And they don't get the variety of the fish that they used to get earlier. What more do we really need to have as an evidence to see that this problem is really hitting us? So today I'm going to talk to you about the work we have already done, and perhaps there are some lessons for all of us to kind of learn from this. So learning from that lesson of 2004, if you look at the map of Tamil Nadu, we are a coastal state. Out of 38 districts, 14 districts are coastal districts. We are building our coastline. We are fortifying, I think that is the word. We are fortifying our coastline with mangroves and bioshield.
Discussions and conversations were not limited to energy transitions and climate finance alone. They also centered around behavior and citizen responsibility and the choices that we make today. Actor, producer and sustainability advocate Mirza, who serves as a Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations Environment Programme, spoke to us about the power of individual action, youth engagement, and why sustainability must move from awareness to everyday practice. In this exclusive conversation with Sansad TV, she spoke about inspiring behavioral change, empowering the voices of the youth, and why climate responsibility must move beyond the policy rooms and become a lived value. The 25th World Sustainable Development Summit brought together policymakers, climate leaders from across the world, also climate strategists, but also included voices that inspire action globally. One such eminent personality, who's also an actor, producer, but most importantly at this event representing the United Nations Environment Programme as the Goodwill Ambassador. Joining us is Ms. Mirza. She needs no introduction because she's been an important voice in the climate conversations across the world. So on the sidelines of the WSDS, we managed to catch up with her to try and get a sense of her experience of being at the WSDS, which was held under the theme Transformations. Dia, thank you so much for speaking to us on Sansad TV. The first question, at a summit that focused on transformations, as the UNEP Goodwill Ambassador, what does transformation really mean to you?
More representation for women, from women in climate policy, because at least that was what the focus of my talk was, my speech was, we all know that India is one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. We need real people who have lived realities, who understand the problems on the ground and are willing to work towards the solutions. And we stand at a very interesting point in human history where we have access and knowledge of solutions, but desperate need to scale those solutions and speed up the solutions, because the window to achieve the goal that we've set for ourselves, which is to not allow surface temperatures, world temperatures, to cross 1.5 degrees centigrade, that window is rapidly reducing. And so, of course, all of us need to mobilize our efforts and do a lot more. But I truly believe that bringing more women into discourse, bringing more women into policy, and bringing more women to the table will speed up efforts.
Since you spoke about solutions, one compelling session at this edition of WSDS was transformations through and for nature, encouraging the adoption of nature-based solutions. In a country where we are nature worshippers, how do you think we can scale the adoption of nature-based solutions so as to value nature more than we already do?
Well, unfortunately, we're also the country that has adopted an economy or an economic system that has failed the world and the people of the world, which and led us to this triple planetary crisis that we're grappling with. So I think India is at the precipice of something very, very important, where we can use our ancient wisdom and knowledge and combine that with the economics of, say, people like economists like Partha Dasgupta and many others who have quite simply and quite powerfully exemplified that the only way and the best way forward for us to lead and transform the economies of the world is to make sure it's regenerative and it's restorative. So we need to bring ecological health into all of our decision making, that there can be no money made in the long term if we don't protect the state of our environment.
Just one last question for the youngsters, because the current generation is climate anxious, but also participating in climate action. So as somebody who wants to contribute towards climate action efforts but doesn't know what to do, you are a public figure, you have significant outreach among people. What would your message be to those who want to contribute and how they can contribute towards valuing nature and encouraging more climate action efforts in the country?
Download Prachi Shivgankar's app, Cool the Globe. Start with that and then start registering and recording your actions, or read up on what Mission Life is. There are many actions available, simple everyday actions. I really think that it is this inheritance of the problem that this generation has and the burden for them to solve it is tremendous. And it is most unfortunate, but I think we can all do our bit. And I personally get much respite when I am a part of the solution, and I find tangible everyday actions that I can take. One of the things that I've done for the last 11 years is refuse to drink water from a plastic bottle. And if my single action, that one choice, has stopped over 12,500 bottles from entering natural systems, then imagine the impact that so many more of us can take and create. So individual action and individual choice matters. It counts. Of course, we need huge systemic upholds and changes, but alongside that, I think we can all do our bit. We can all start segregating our waste. We can all refuse single-use plastics. We can all do our bit to stop people from cutting a tree or grow more trees ourselves.
There are so many things that we can do, but with that message, thank you so much for speaking to us on Sansad TV. And that brings us to an end of this program. Thank you, viewers, for your time.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.